Sort of waiting on stuff to go here, and then we'll get rolling. So, yeah. We'll get going.
Power on.
Get going here in just a second. Boom. Start the stream. Let me try to get to the part of the page where I can see it. All right. Well, I believe we're rolling. Hey, it sure looks like it. Boy, the color looks off, doesn't it? We'll have to look into that. Something's going on with the color. We'll have to check into that. I'm not sure what it is. Probably bad lighting. I got too many lights, maybe. Oh, hang on one second, guys. Turn the fan off just to keep it out of the microphone. All right, Wednesday night. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time around, thank you for coming by and checking us out. It's a Wednesday. We generally do like a gear thing on Wednesdays. So with that in mind, what kind of gear do we want to talk about today? First off, welcome to the show, High Desert Music Channel. We do appreciate you coming by and checking us out. Like the videos, subscribe, comment, share, all that stuff. It really, truly does help. Sharing the video with everybody you can think of. Anybody that's not going to get pissed off at you for sending them a link to a video, share it with them. It could be pretty helpful for the channel. So again, thanks for coming by. Thanks for checking us out. We do appreciate it. I'm trying to get things going and get a little bigger, a little better. It's not the easiest thing in the world, obviously. Gained a couple of subscribers this week. It's cool. Obviously, we like that. So thank you for subscribing, checking us out. Keep coming back. We'll get some more crappy covers up. I'll try to get some crappy covers recorded. I got some new ones. Been working on a couple new tunes. So I think I can probably get 2 guitar and 2 bass tracks out this week. I will try to get those out by Friday, meaning, tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'll try to do that. Practice, this week in terms of practice and what we wanted to talk about. Well, it didn't quite go. I mean, it's only been 2 days, obviously, right? We did the show on Monday night. So I kind of lost last night almost completely. Almost completely. I drove out to the desert, got some good pictures, some cool video that I'm going to try to get integrated into the channel and start using some of that stuff. So that kind of took up a fair hunk of what time I would have been practicing last night. But still making some progress with the MIDI, with the keyboard and all that, getting things figured out. I'm really starting to realize I really want to zero in on some software that I like. It's not that I dislike the MPC beats. I just think I don't know. It doesn't seem quite intuitive enough to me. The Ableton 12 Live Lite, I don't know that I like that one a whole lot either. So I want to see some of these other DAWs that are out there and some of the other avenues to work with them. And maybe my DAW is good and I'm using incorrect plugins. Like maybe I need to figure out better plugins that work with MPC beats to help me create stuff. Some of this AI tooling and these AI technologies, I think, especially for somebody like me that's never really tried to write music and create music, it's going to be pretty helpful, for me to have something like that. So I want to get into that. I want to get that going. But Monday night after the show, I don't know why, for whatever reason, I was sitting here and as I kind of was, standing in line like after every show, the studio audience, as I throw them out of the fucking house here, I generally, will stand out there and shake hands with them. There they are. How you doing, guys? Nice to see you. Okay. Yeah. So that as I was doing that, it occurred to me, I want to jack around with my pedal. Why and how that occurred to me while I'm shaking hands with the crowd, I don't know. But it did. It did. And so anyhow, I decided, I yanked out my pedal, one of my pedals. Now, this is the portion where I say one of my buddies laughs at me, pokes fun at me. I've brought this up before, just doesn't understand it. So when I say pedal, I'm going to go play around and use one of my pedals. So I have a Line 6 JM4 looper. So if you know anything about guitars and guitar stuff, that thing's pretty old, 10, 12 years. You know, it ain't new. It ain't new by any stretch of the imagination. But the backing tracks are actual backing tracks on it, whereas some of the new stuff, the Boss RC5, I had that for a while, the Boss RC50. There was not really, I never found anyway, actual music. All it was a drum beat, you know, whatever. And I am not good enough with a guitar or a bass to use just that to create my own music, to just improvise something. You know, I'm not that good at it. I just don't have enough time in it, whatever, you know, not that great at it. So the JM4 plays real backing tracks. But anyways, that kind of fired me up about that. And so that kind of has that, you know, what time I got to play on Tuesday I spent with the pedal as opposed to the MIDI. And I got a couple of things actually recorded that I thought were kind of cool. You know, that JM4, this is going to probably be like one of my typical reviews, right? Like, this thing is little. Eventually, here in a couple minutes, I'll pick it up. You can see it. But anyway, you know, it's pretty simple. It's old. But it's got some built-in amps and some effects. And I was using it with the bass, and it was pretty cool, you know, to hear like the tremolo with the bass at various speeds until you got it to just almost like cut out. And if any of you have a Spark 2, or if you've ever played with a Spark 2, there's an amp setting on there called Somber Cowboy. And yeah, I could get that tone, that kind of sound with this JM4 and a bass. It was pretty cool. I don't think the neighbors cared for it so much, but it was daylight, at least when I was doing it. But that was a pretty cool sound, you know, and then you throw a little bit of flanger on top of that, and it was pretty slick, man. So that kind of, I think, is what's going to chew up the rest of the week, I'm afraid. You know, I can just see that happening, that the pedal's going to be the thing for the rest of the week. And it's not that that's bad, because it does give me an opportunity to record some of what I'm doing, and then play it back and listen to it again and check it out and see, you know, and be able to kind of hear my own progress. But playing something different that's completely just what's coming up out of my mind, you know, and remembering scales, especially with the bass, remembering some of the scales and implementing those scales for the most part, learning how to play them faster and faster and faster, and just come up with something different and move around the neck and move around the fretboard and figure out where to land in order to get something that sounds kind of cool with the song that I'm playing. One of the other reasons that I kind of like this JM4 as opposed to some of the others, it tells me when I pick a tune to play against, you know, as a backing track, it tells me what key that song is in. So then I know, kind of have some idea, because Google AI tells me what chords work together. So I know where to go on the neck. I don't have to hunt around quite as much to find the spot on the neck, on the fretboard where I want to play, where it's going to mix in with the chord that this song is in. So that's another reason that I like that JM4. And I mean, you know, this show is for beginners by beginners. So I mean, this JM4 can be had on eBay, used obviously through Guitar Center or Reverb, or I don't know that Sweetwater does use stuff, but you know, you can find these things for pretty cheap. I think I gave $125 for the one I've got, and I get box, power cord, the whole 9 yards. It basically was, you know, 12 years old and used for a few hours and put back in the box and sold to me a decade later. You know, for $125. So it's not the most expensive thing in the world. It's got a relatively decent looper in it. You know, I've got a 2 gigabyte SD card in it. It doesn't have a problem reading it. So, You know, obviously it's got some room to store what you're recording, what you're playing. And that's cool. I like that. So, you know, I'll have this argument with Hunter as much as he wants to have it. Yeah, as much as Hunter wants to argue about it, I'll argue it with him, because I personally, right now, at my playing level, and maybe this is something, you know, maybe this is the specific part of the show that you could pass on to one of your friends. At my level of playing, that pedal works for me so much better than the expensive new stuff. Even the really expensive kind of old stuff like the RC50. I had a Barstar C50, you know, and that thing's like this big. Got all kinds of craziness going on, man. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. I never even really figured it out. What I was able to figure it out is that it could really only offer me a drum beat as a backing, unless I wanted to plug in my own thing and provide my own backing track. Well, I didn't have a MIDI keyboard at the time, and even though I have one now, I still can't make music with it. So, I mean, you know, that's what kind of made those not so great for me, and not as useful. So, I also, at the same time, I have a Jam Man. That one's unplugged and at easy disposal. So I also have this one, a Jam Man. Right, so this one is kind of the same. It's got a looper built into it. The looper's fairly decent. Takes a great big memory card. You plug a lot of stuff in, powers up, blah, blah, blah. But it only offers me drum beats. And that's kind of lacking for me, personally. And I know, I understand Hunter's argument that, you know, a real honest-to-God guitarist doesn't need much more than just a metronome type of drum beat, right? Well, I'm not, man. You know, I'm not. So, I don't know. That's why I like the JM4 looper, the JM4, the Line 6 JM4. Anyway, that's kind of where my practice went, at least Monday night, and what I did get to play yesterday, at least indoors. I pretty well still play every morning a little bit, you know, some period of time, a few minutes, a couple of tunes each on the guitar and bass outside. You know, the mornings are getting real nice around here. So anyhow, I'm not digging this camera right now. I'm kind of looking at it and I'm not digging it. Like, I think I want to change that a little bit, but I'm not going to do it right now. So, to the 3 viewers out there in TV land, hello. Thank you so much for coming to check us out. Sure appreciate it. Like the show, like the videos, subscribe to the channel, share the show with somebody, you know. Share the show with anybody you have in your contact list that's not going to get mad that you send them a crappy video link, because at least that show's getting shared. That's helpful. That's hugely helpful to me, and try to spread the footprint of, you know, like I've said time and time again, that helps spread the footprint of getting the good stuff out there about music. You know, how you can find your way through the crappy parts of it by playing music and trying to learn music. And at least when it is crappy, you can keep your brain occupied, man, and you can keep your mind on something other than the crappy parts, right? I don't know that really ties into guitar gear. You know, and I'm kind of thinking about that. Boy, howdy, we lost everybody on YouTube. Everybody disappeared from YouTube. Anyway, you know, I'm kind of wondering about that. Like, is there even a point to trying to make specific style episodes at this point of the channel, or ever? Or should it always just kind of be hanging out, talking about how music is going over the last few days? Maybe 3 times a week is too much. Maybe twice a week is all we need to do. Like I don't know, Tuesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Saturday, something like that, and that's all we do. I don't know, but you know, I mean, again, we keep trying to make these gear episodes, so we're gonna make them gear episodes. But yeah, speaking of gear, I did figure a lot of things out about my gear. My recording gear and stuff. As I said, I went out to the desert last night. So, I mean, this is kind of gear related for sure. Went out to the desert to try and get good pictures of a mostly full moon. I missed it by a couple of days, but I had a show to do with you guys, and then the next night just wasn't happening. And so still pretty close to full moon, and I cruised out to the desert to try to get some pictures of moonrise, right, like over the desert. Thought that might be cool. Play the Star Spangled Banner while a mostly full moon is rising up over the desert. Well, it was cloudy as hell, or at least in where the moon was. At least from my vantage point where the moon was, there was a couple of thunderstorms in between. But I did end up getting a crazy bunch of good pictures, like one like the thumbnail for the show tonight, and video. And I got, 30 minutes, 35 minutes over an hour and a half, 40 minutes over an hour and a half, something like that, of video of crazy cool thunderstorms, man, and the moon rising through the thunderstorm, and then the moon popping out above the cloud like in the picture that you saw. So I'm going to work with some of that stuff, like I said, and get that on the channel in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. I didn't end up playing against it, but I did figure out how to get my board out there, into the wild, so to speak, as long as I got some phone signal. I could do live out there, obviously, but even, obviously without the phone signal, I got it figured out how, to get the board and a decent microphone stretched out to where I am and be able to hear what I'm doing. So yeah, that was, it wasn't the greatest, it wasn't musical practice, so to speak, last night. But it was practice for moving the channel forward. It was practice for, the technical end of the channel and the technical end of recording music and videos and stuff like that, which I need to learn to get better at, obviously. Judging by the vast audience that we have tonight of, I think, just myself. Pretty sure it's just me watching myself. But, hey, man, whatever. Such is the world, right? That's how it goes. Eventually, hopefully, we can spread the footprint out of this channel and start really helping people out. That's obviously the goal. Help folks understand the joy of music and learn things about music. Catch on to other stuff. I do understand today is the day, today's one of those days. It was a big day. A lot of shit happened today, and that certainly shouldn't bother my viewership, but hey, whatever I need to say to make myself feel okay, right? Anyway, yeah, so we're going to continue on. I'll work with the MIDI some more. I still, like I said on Monday night, I still just kind of want to zero in on using the software that I have and create something that works minimally. At least one or two tunes of my own as I kind of get towards where I need to get, and can pick up some better software, get something that is just better. And perhaps it's the paid version of MPC. I don't know. I really don't. I'm going to keep looking into that and seeing. But yeah, practice this week. Like I said, I got some crappy covers I'll get out for you guys this week. I'm going to practice those a lot, obviously. Another melody tune from Juanes that I'm trying to learn. And it's coming along. I'm making pretty good progress on that one, actually. It's just, there's a couple weird spots to me that are weird. I think they're musically standard. They're just not quite normal for me, I guess, with some of the stuff I've been playing and moving into a different style of music, a different, completely different region of the world of music. So we'll see how that goes. That's kind of what's going to go on this week. It's just going to be some more playing, more working with the MIDI. I don't know when I'll go back out to the desert and try to get more film out there. It's hard to say at some point. But, yeah, that's kind of how it's been going. That's where we are, I suppose. But I do want to use the pictures and some of that video that I took to try to come up with a video entry with the musical entry that I'm trying to put together with the MIDI. So, along with trying to learn how to create music and make my own songs, I'm also going to need to try to learn how to edit some video and, again, a bunch of stuff I've just never done. Things I pretty much have zero idea how to do or do correctly, but we're going to give it a shot nonetheless. So that's kind of my practice the rest of the week, probably, especially between now and Friday. I mean, that means obviously tomorrow. But that's kind of how it's going to roll. That's what practice is going to keep for the rest of the week. And I'm going to stick to the gear that we're talking about. Let me grab that thing so you guys can take a look if you've never seen one. All right. So, this is a Line 6 JM4 looper. Okay? And like I said, it's 10, 12 years old. But you got some amps here, overdrive, 3-band EQ, and you get the effects. Flanger, phaser, tremolo, regular delay, tape echo, sweep echo, reverb, and then a channel volume. It also has all the built-in stuff on the little screen, which obviously you're not going to be able to see. But, you got ins and outs on the back. I mean, I'm not going to go through this. You guys know this kind of stuff. It's pointless for me to act like this is something special and fantastic. I mean, it's normal shit. Okay? And, record, play, undo, and I don't know that one does anything. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. I think there might be a book in the box. I don't remember. Anyway, for me, because it's got so many different tunes in it in terms of backing track and a memory card, as I said, it's got a memory card, like I said, right there, just a standard SD card. For me and for my level of playing skill and my ability, that's a pretty good $125. Because I want more than just a drum machine. I want more than just a drum beat. I still want to learn I still wanted to loop and be able to kind of record myself and come up with something. So, again, for me and my playing ability, that thing is fantastic. And I'll continue to have that argument, at least until I turn into a guitar player, an actual somewhat musician. Because until then, I can't make a very good argument because I'm unable to use the machine to its fullest capacity. I'm sure, whether it be this one or a Boss RC5. But what I'm getting at, the point of what I'm talking about right here, this is $125. That Boss RC5 is, I think, $220. There's an RC1. I think that one's like 120, 150, something like that. So it's still the same, maybe a little more, less capable, even than this, and only has a drum beat. So for me, my style, what I'm looking for, what I wanted, the $125 I spent on this one was the one that stuck around. The several hundred that I spent on other pedals, aside from that Jam Man, have left. The Jam Man, I got it for such a low number at a pawn shop that I'm just like, it's probably not worth selling. I don't think, if that's what I gave for it, I'm not going to get much for it either if I try to sell it. So just sit on it. I also have this other pedal, and I believe it has a looper. It does have a looper in it too, and it's an actual pedal. So this one has lots of effects. It has some interesting quote-unquote lessons built into it that I haven't quite been able to figure out and understand how they operate, or what they actually mean when they say lesson. I don't get it. It doesn't seem to do anything when I push that button other than change the screen. This one, Moor, M-O-O-E-R, Moor, I guess. This was ridiculously cheap, stupid cheap. and came from one of those 4-letter websites. One of them 4-letter apps on your phone where you buy stuff from a foreign country and they put it on giant boats. But it was wildly cheap, amazingly cheap. It doesn't really have music or anything. It's got some drum beats. They're a little, they're drum beats. There's nothing special going on there. However, it has a lot of effects, and the pedal actually operates like a regular pedal in terms of more or less, and you actually work it with your foot. So that's kind of cool. That one, I haven't messed with this one very much. Given that the pedals are starting to kind of come back into life, and I'm kind of messing with them some more, I'm guessing that by next Wednesday I'll have a better story and update on this GE100. So I gave like $28 for this, I think. $28 to $30, something like that. You got in-out, input, output to headphones, auxiliary in and power on the back, kind of standard. There's some control panels. I'm not going to take the time to turn it on. Maybe we'll do that next week or 2 weeks when I've played around with it some more. And we'll just kind of stick with the JM4. So, for the beginners out there, the people that are, even if you're not a beginner, man, even if you've been playing forever but you don't have a big pile of money, I can't say anything bad about the JM4. If you don't have a big pile of money, but you don't want you just want the looper and a simple drum track, that Jam Man, those things are like $100. It's even cheaper. I paid a little less than $100. I think I gave $8. I think it's $75 or $80. Hey, buying the brand new stuff from the guitar store is really cool, and I bought a lot of it. Way too much of it. However, having way too much of it at one time and unloading it bit by bit can keep you afloat for a long time if you need it to. That's good, that's bad. Such is the world, right? It is what it is. But so if you don't have a bunch of money but you're a guitar guy, you want to play, you just started playing and you're trying to learn how to use some of these things, I would recommend a JM4. There's some on eBay. I haven't looked for a while, but I'm certain that there was at the time on Guitar Center at like $100.50. And I got mine for pretty cheap. I got the cheapest one I could find on eBay that looked like it was complete and had a box, and I'm pretty sure I gave about $125, $135, something like that. And it's great. I love it. I love it, and have gotten rid of 4 other pedals in lieu of this one, and hung on to this one. Again, because of my limited playing ability, my limited experience with them, my limited knowledge of how they operate and what they can give me, this one is the one for me right now. It may not always be that way, and who knows? Maybe at the outset I should have just thrown down the cash right at the jump for like the RC200 or RC20, whatever the new expensive Boss is, at like $300. If I would have just bought that one right off the bat, I think it might actually have, I don't know, but I think it might have backing tracks and some extra stuff in it that the 5 didn't. But anyway, who knows? Maybe that would have been the correct route. That would, the chances of me taking the correct route are slim to none. I generally am going to figure out the hardest goddamn way to do it, and that's how we're going to do it. Because, I wouldn't want it easy or some shit like that. Where would the fun be then if it's just simple? But anyway, that's my opinion on a Line 6 JM4 looper. If you're low on fundage, if you just are new to guitars, new to basses, but you want to play around with one of these things, I look for one. They're cheaper than buying new. And generally, my opinion is, personal opinion, we all know how that operates with opinions. My personal opinion is that you could buy it used from Guitar Center and you're pretty sure to get a good product. reverb, it's 50-50 shot, I think. eBay's 50-50 shot. It may or may not be good. The probability's high. I think the probability of buying that kind of stuff on eBay is 9.5 times out of 10. It is what they say it is in the ads, at least in terms of musical instruments in my experience. I've had a few that kind of overstated the quality, mildly overstated the quality of the instrument or the item musically. That's not the case with other things. There's other things that I've bought on eBay that were wildly misrepresented, and so be it, Sometimes you lose your ass, and that's the taste of the planet. But hey, whatever. Anyway, that's kind of my portion of the gear show tonight. If you're looking for cheaper pedals, and you don't need a huge amount of functionality. You don't need hours and hours of recording and 99 different slots to record on top of each other and overdubs and all that stuff. If you just kind of want to record a hot lick that you came up with or some shit like that, my money's on the JM4. I like Line 6 stuff in general. I don't have anymore. I did have a Catalyst 60, a Line 6 Catalyst 60 watt. That thing was awesome. Loved it. I sold it in lieu of the Boss Katana 50. I got more out of the Catalyst than I would have the Boss Katana. So, at the time, that was a choice to make. That was the correct choice. But I do like it, and it seems like there was another Line 6 something I had that came and went for one reason or another. Can't remember maybe not. Maybe it was just that and the loop. Maybe that's what it was. I bought the looper because that's what it was. I bought the Line 6 Catalyst because I'd seen him in the store, heard him in the store, bought it from Guitar Center, and that's the name recognition is why I went for that looper. Because I knew shit about loopers, absolutely nothing. I jumped on eBay and said looper, show me loopers. And that was one that popped up at a number, like I said, $125, $135 that I was into. Oh yeah, I can deal with that. That's cheap. And yeah, as I said, I bought 4, 5 pedals after that, 6 pedals after that, and 4 of those 6 are gone. And like I said, the Jam Man, I just don't think I would get enough out of it to sell it to make it worth selling. I might as well keep it. At some point, maybe, and it is a little jumpy, a little touchy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a little touchy. So it's just like, I'm not going to sell my headache to somebody else, especially for $15. You know what I mean? That's an asshole move. Just send that down the road to somebody else for $15. That's an asshole move. Just keep it. And part of my mind on that is, if I keep it, eventually I am the sort that I will decide to open that little bastard up, see what's going on, and try to fix it. I kind of know where it's loose and what's not happening, and one day I'll get around to open. I'll be bored enough to turn the camera on, open that thing up, and see if I can't find what's loose and not soldered so well and fix it. So that's another reason to keep. That was one of the reasons I've decided to keep it as well. Well, that was two of the reasons, because I don't want to sell my headache to somebody else. That's an asshole move. And because maybe I can use it as a training tool for myself. To open it up and get better at soldering little tiny stuff. So yeah, but anyways, as I said, I've had at one point 7 pedals. I got 3 now. But yeah, the JM6, the Line 6 JM4 made it through. And like I said, I'm a beginner with beginner skills, beginner ideas, beginner opinions, and my opinion is the JM6 is the JM4 from Line 6. Eventually I'll get that straight. Is not a bad rig, for $125, $150. You get a lot of functionality, some good features. There's 100 and some odd tunes in there, and it tells you what key they're in. To me, that is huge. to know what key the song is in is huge for me, because then I know where to go, not instantly, but within a few measures, where to be on the fretboard to get the sound that I want that mixes with that chord correctly. So that I find extremely helpful about it. So yeah, I just kind of like it. And yeah. So we got 4 folks. Thanks for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody coming by to check us out, you Rumble crowd. How do you Rumble guys find me? If you're, can you tell me that? Like, throw it in the chat. Did it just show up? Did it show up on your feed? I'm kind of curious as to how Rumble operates and how I'm getting any Rumble viewers. I don't know. I try to tell everybody that I tell, that we're on all these platforms all the time, and spread the word around, to try to get some people to come watch an idiot like me talk about music, learn music, be excited about music, and continue to realize and find out and live the true fact that, live the truth, I guess, whatever you want to say, but just find out more and more every day and just soak it up more and more every day that, man, playing a couple of tunes here and there can really make the bad stuff better and make you forget about the stuff you don't want to think about. Problems in your world, personal problems in your world, whatever, your problems with the world at large in general. Generally, that's not my issue. Shit happens in the world. Shit happens in the world, man. Good, bad, or otherwise, it goes on. So you just kind of breathe while it goes on. Remember it, and tell your grandkids later or something if it's that important. Did they land on the moon or did they fake it? What do you guys think? Audience, what do you think? Was it fake? All right. So they're going for the fake. They all seem to believe it was a fake. So, hey, man, I mean, if it was a fake, well, it's a good one. But it was the government, and the moon is a weird, weird thing. You guys ever looked into that shit? Crazy, man. Crazy. Absolutely nothing to do with music on that, obviously. But hey, show doesn't always have to be about music. But no, I mean, the point of the channel, like I say, is to share this with somebody that's trying to learn how to play music, that's having a rough go of it, that's not having a rough go of it. Somebody that just plays music and likes music and wants to talk about music, man. Show them. Share the show with them. Have them get on the live chat and talk to me. I'll answer their questions. To the best of my ability. I'll certainly give my opinions. Marginal as they may be, I have plenty of opinions. But yeah, let's. I'm gonna call that a night, guys. I don't have a whole lot else to really get into in terms of, gear and stuff. There's nothing new on my horizon in terms of gear. I kind of talked about it the other night, but it is a gear episode. Let me talk about this for just a minute before we shut her down. I am really, again, as I said on Monday night, really coming into this Ampeg Micro CL and really starting to like it. Now that's my only option to play with. My best option. I can obviously plug my bass into the guitar amps, but the Ampeg Micro CL is my best option. For playing bass right now. It's the one made for a bass. I'm really starting to like it. I'm really starting to come around to that Ampeg tone and that sound, and it's not quite loud enough for me. I would like a bigger, louder sound. Like. In my mind, in that style of a cabinet that's sealed shut like that, 212s, at maybe 300 watts, it would be pretty cool. Eventually, we'll go back to another big, loud ported cabinet, that's insane and shakes your guts, because then you're playing the bass, a 410 cabinet or something like that. Yeah, we'll get back to that sooner or later. There's been some movement on that that part of the world for me in the last couple of days. Hopefully that continues to move forward the way it has been. But yeah, so that Ampeg, man, there's another one. You know, if you're a beginner, you're starting out, and you're playing, you know, a 50 watt, a 25 watt. I started at a B25, an acoustic B25 was the first bass amp I had, and realized real quick, nope, not loud enough for me. It was nowhere near in comparison to my Spark 2, or obviously not to the Spark Cab. So it didn't last very long, and I bought a B100, an acoustic B100, and I loved it. That's a great amp to me. The B100 is fantastic. You can carry it around if you want to. It's loud. It's deep. It was a great amp. I would have a hard time saying anything bad about an acoustic B100. It's got a tilt back built into it, as did the 25s and the 50s. Also have that tilt back built in. But so then I bought this Ampeg. So my point being, if you're a beginner, you're starting out, or you're looking for maybe loud bedroom or loud practice, but not, it certainly isn't going to be gig loud. I don't think you could play live with that unless it was a really small place, like playing in somebody's basement, or playing in the garage to the people in the driveway, because it's 100 watts, so it's not like it's big and loud and crazy. But it is got a great tone and a great sound, and it's not that bad at $400, but $450 I think I give for it brand new. And it's it's a separate head in a cabinet. So as I did, you could take that 100 watt Ampeg head and put it on a 210 cabinet, and it was fantastic, man. Because at that point you could turn it up as to the amp giving you absolutely everything it could, and not bottom out the speakers, and it it was insanely loud. I mean, I could hit 102, 103 decibels in here with that thing, with that cabinet and a 100 watt head. And I'm sure the neighbors are glad that it's gone. I am not so thrilled that it's gone, but it has again forced me to use the Ampeg and realize, man, I like the Ampeg, and the next big one is probably going to be an Ampeg, not an acoustic. The next big cabinet, whether it's 210s, 410s, and a big cabinet, if it's their 200 watt 210 cabinet and a bigger amp, or if it's a 410 and a 300 watt amp, whatever, it's probably going to be Ampeg next time. But I wouldn't say that for sure. Mark Bass makes some nice stuff, and some of their stuff sounds really good. Knowing me, it's going to end up being a used amp head and a used cabinet that I find that aren't really meant for each other necessarily, but those two fit in the area that I have, and that's the size amp that I'm looking for in terms of wattage. Probably how it's going to end up happening for me. But anyways, so all right, guys, have a good evening. Thank you so much for coming by and checking us out here tonight on High Desert Music Channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the show with anybody you can think of that's not going to get pissed off at you for sharing it with them. Everybody in your contact list, I would appreciate that. Thousands and thousands of shares. Yeah, so we'll be back on Friday, and pardon me, we'll do our standard Friday night show again on Friday. Be a longer show and try to be a little more prepared, have more stuff to talk about, more stuff to do. Next Friday we will, we'll have us a show. Not tomorrow night, night after tomorrow night, Friday night, 9 o'clock Mountain Time, High Desert Music Channel. We'll see you then. Thanks for coming.